NYW Fox 5 New York. Welcome to Newsroom Live. It's our behind the scenes engagement where we cover everything that's going on. We encourage you, if you have a question about something, we're going to see if we can answer it. Put it into the comments section on the platform to which you are walking and watching us through. First thing that we want to talk about is the weather, because right now we are under an air quality advisory, and I'm going to stop there because I'm going to bring in the expert for this one, Liv Johnson. My colleague Liv Johnson is coming in now. Once I can get the camera, and I'll scoot over to her. Anyway, meteorologist Liv Johnson is here. Liv, you take it away because we're looking at haze as we see what's going on in our skyline.
I know, another smoky day. AQI is a little bit worse further north of New York City. Like right now, the Hudson Valley is really feeling it. Connecticut's really feeling it. Another day where New England is as well. So Massachusetts, Rhode Island. There's a look at that haze. We couldn't even tell earlier if that was the Statue of Liberty, but there she is.
Now, Liv, what's causing the haze? Like, for people who may not know.
The smoke from the wildfires in Canada. So it's traveled all the way from, is it Manitoba or Manitoba?
Manitoba.
Yeah. Which I think last night, Linda Schmidt and I were on Newsroom Live at 8 p.m. and I think she looked it up and it's like 1,600 miles from us. So it's just how far the particles can move. And we're still feeling the effects of that. So we do have another air quality alert in effect. It's from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. and we're feeling it right now. Last check AQI, I believe, was like 112 in the city, which is unhealthy for sensitive groups. That's a little worse than yesterday. When I came into work, it was in the mid 70s. We were still under an air quality alert, but it wasn't as bad as it is right now. Now, I will say we do have some shifts coming. So what's going to help us today is that we've been getting a northerly wind, which makes sense why some of that smoke from Canada would be harming us, and New England and the whole Northeast. But today, those winds are going to shift a little bit. We'll get more of an easterly wind, which is also why Long Island's not suffering too much right now from the smoke and haze, because they're already getting that easterly wind. The bad part about that is the past few days have not been humid. Our dew point temperatures have been significantly lower than they usually are. You felt that this past weekend, like very enjoyable. But now we have that easterly wind bringing in some more moisture, so it is going to be a bit more humid now moving forward the next few days.
In a situation like this where we're still in our warm months and pollen is also a consideration, how does this impact people who may have allergies and that sort of, thing that they're dealing with and fighting?
Well,
as far as breathing.
Right. I haven't looked at like pollen reports this week. I mean, just today and yesterday, the impacts have been from smoke. I mean, I'm going to assume it would not help. I don't have allergies, so I don't really have firsthand experience, but it definitely doesn't help. And then anytime also the winds are stagnant, that doesn't help our air quality. So at least today, our winds are going to shift. And again, it kind of cleans us up, because the other thing that really helps when we have conditions like this and bad air quality is rain. But unfortunately, well, I mean, it's kind of nice. We don't really love having showers, but
look, we've got a question, Liv. You handle it.
A comment. I've got the AC on and can still smell the smoke. I wonder from what area. Like, I wonder where this.
Corona, Queens.
Corona. Oh, okay.
Okay, interesting. I mean, yeah, I couldn't smell smoke today, could you?
Not on my way in, but also I'm coming Harlem, down and then walking over to the Upper East Side through Central Park. So while I noticed, in the distance looking down at Lower Manhattan, just by chance when I was walking in that direction, I did notice, just the haze like what we're looking at, in our pictures right now. In a situation like this, we may have a couple more days until we get showers possibly.
Yeah, the closest or the best chance that we have for showers, I think, are Wednesday night into Thursday. But we still don't have a day this week so far where it looks like, oh, today's a rainy day. It's more like we're just seeing slight chances. So I'll go more on that in the noon as well. Washington Heights is really bad. I have asthma. Yeah, so today is one of those days when we say unhealthy for sensitive groups, that includes people with asthma. And it's not one of those situations when we have bad air quality. I mean, as far as like today and yesterday and stuff, it's not like going outside is super unhealthy
Right.
or like, you know, don't spend too much time standing or walking outside. We're more just warning people, again, like this person who commented who has asthma. If you know that you struggle when the air quality is poor, or just if you're planning on having like strenuous activities, if you're planning to run 8 miles because you're training for a marathon or something, I wouldn't have done that this morning. I wouldn't have done that ever, but I also especially wouldn't have done that with this air quality.
So let's say,
How long will this affect us? So things are going to get better tomorrow. The rest of the day we're in this air quality alert. It usually does get a little bit better as the day goes on, but if you're just now joining, I was talking about earlier how the winds are going to shift. We've had a northerly wind, which is bringing us the air from Canada directly, so the smoke and the particles and all that. And now we're going to have an easterly wind. So that's going to help us a whole lot. Really, it's rain and wind shift that is what improves air quality. So we're not getting rain, we're getting the wind shift, but that is going to make conditions more humid for the rest of the week.
so we know you're going to be covering this midday and throughout the day. I know you also have to go get ready for the midday newscast. If we had to pick the best day so far to be outside, for people who may be wondering, you
Right.
know, what would you say?
For this whole week,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it looks like a pretty decent weekend. Friday looks nice. It is going to be more humid moving forward, but we're kind of in the low 80s for the rest of the week, which is very comfortable. And then our rain chance would be Wednesday into Thursday. So I feel like Friday is a great, you can make some outdoor plans maybe for dinner or something. And the weekend's pretty enjoyable too.
TGIF and then
Yeah.
TGIWE.
Exactly.
All right, my
Exactly.
dear. I know you have got to get ready.
Of
Liv has got to go
course.
do her weather forecast, you know, so everybody, you're stuck with me, you know, for the next 20 minutes or so. We're also, in addition to talking about the air quality index and the AQI advisory that we're under, some of the other headlines that we're following is a second person has died from Legionnaire's disease after nearly 6 people have been diagnosed in Harlem since late last month. Now, this outbreak is mostly impacting central Harlem. 2 people have died and 58 others again. This is all since July 25th. So we're talking about a week that's happened. Now, the outbreak began with 5 reported cases before rapidly growing. And here's why this is a big deal. It's because it's not passed, Legionnaire's disease is not passed person to person. You actually have to intake it, you know, meaning like something that's consumed that generally impacts water. You know, a lot of people wonder if it's something that I could pass to you or you could pass to me. No, it's not spread like that. Here's the zip code cluster that we want to make sure we bring to people's attention. 10030, 10035, 10037, and 10027, which impacts my neighborhood because that's where this is mostly going on. Now, the health department is saying that the likely source of the cluster are cooling towers that are affected in those areas. So if you live in those zip codes, and again, I'll go over them again just before we say goodbye, that we want to make sure that you are aware of that and that you are following up with your doctor, you're following up with whomever your physician may be, you know, if you have a question about that. Now, the remediation required by the Department of Health has been completed for 11 cooling towers with initial positive screening results showing the presence of the Legionella pneumonia, which is a type of bacteria that causes Legionnaire's disease. So again, we'll be recouping, going back over that. We'll be talking about that again. You know, a lot of the time it impacts the plumbing system. So that's one of the things that we want to make sure that we're passing along to you. It's a potentially dangerous form of pneumonia, which is caused by inhaling water vapors that have been, again, contaminated with Legionella bacteria. One of the other stories that we're following is that authorities are looking into the death of a 1-year-old toddler who apparently accidentally drowned at a daycare. And so we understand that the toddler was a girl, and the investigation just starting, so it's still in the early stages of that, but that's also one of our top stories. If you have a question or a comment about something that you want to ask us, this is your chance. Put it in the comments section. We'll see if we can address it. But again, we want to go back up and show you the pictures outside because we always try to keep you up to date on our weather and on the weather situation. And as Liv was just telling us, that the air quality is of concern because we are getting some of the smoke, if you will, not necessarily blowback, but the haze that's coming down from the Canadian wildfires that are burning, which again we think is somewhere about 1,600 miles north, of us in Canada, in Manitoba perhaps. And again, look at that picture right there, Lady Liberty, whom you can barely see, covered just through the smoke and through the haze. So again, if you have conditions like asthma or any sort of upper respiratory condition, that you have to take precautions with this, because it's absolutely imperative that you in fact do so. And if you have a question, if you have a comment about this or one of the other stories that we're following, then just again reach out and let us know. One of the other things we also want to try to talk about is just, what you've been doing over the last few days to try to manage what had been, some up and down temps as far as weather goes. We know that the chance of rain is coming intermittently, for the next few days, but still there is there. Haven't the Canadian wildfires affected us before? All the time, it feels like. That's my most honest answer. But to your point, yes, remember last year, and I won't even say the year before that, when there were wildfires, burning north of us, that part of the North American continent, absolutely, and it just happens, its location, because of how far north we are, and then of course the smoke spreads and that sort of thing. So absolutely, that's something that we have to contend with, to our neighbors, north of us that are there. Let me know about your neighborhoods. Are you seeing smoke? We know that we've heard from Washington Heights. We've heard from Corona, Queens. I believe it was Corona.
Corona, Queens, and Washington Heights.
Yep, Corona, Queens, and Washington Heights. So, let me know what you're seeing in your neighborhoods now. And let's see. Prayers to the family. Yeah, this one, still trying to get more information on that one. Absolutely think about that, because we know it was at a daycare, and certainly it takes a lot, to trust your child, and to, care, like that, whether it's school, whether it's preschool, nursery, daycare, those types of situations. So certainly, thank you for that comment. Thank you for all of them, as well. Certainly something that we want to make sure that we trust that the ACS, the investigators from there, the social workers that will be involved, the authorities, special victims, with the NYPD, that they will all be, looking into this. But it's our understanding right now that it was an accidental drowning, and I believe the toddler was about a year old, so again, this is still in the early stages. But thank you for that comment. Thank you for all of them. And yep, okay. The boss is telling me I can take a break. No, we can. So we'll take a quick break, and then I'll be right back. All right, everybody, we are back again. Antwan Lewis coming to you from the newsroom of Fox 5 New York. Thank you for being with us. We use this format to engage with you outside of our traditional newscasts, just a way, it's a little bit more casual, a little bit more laid back. And we cover headlines. We engage with you through our comment section. So if you have a question about something, the things that we're talking about right now are air quality, because the Canadian wildfires are impacting our air quality here. We want to give you a quick look at what it looks like outside right now. Look at that. Now, believe it or not, that's Lady Liberty, the Statue of Liberty right there in the foreground, if you will. But that's a look, out towards the Hudson, looking towards Lower Manhattan, where Lady Liberty, again, is in a thick little smoke envelope, if you will, because of Canadian wildfires. And that's another look at our skyline. Again, they're coming north. And if you have a question about that, this is particularly something we want to raise because of the air quality impact for people with respiratory conditions like asthma or something bronchial. We certainly want to be mindful of that. We're just showing you different images from that. How about small children? Totally. Now, I'm not a dad, but I'm a very happy uncle for a number of years, and having been an active and involved uncle to that degree, it's a little tough with them. All I can say, especially not being a medical professional, is certainly their systems are still growing. So it's imperative to make sure that we are keeping our eyes on the kids, also our elderly, we have to make sure that we're doing that. So if you're going to be outside with someone, then if you see them having problems breathing, coughing a little bit more than normal, and they don't have allergies, then absolutely it's something that you should take into consideration. Thank you for that comment and that question. Again, anybody with a comment or question about that, then we certainly want to encourage you to put it in the section there on the platform to which you are watching us. One of our other top stories is a second person has died from Legionnaire's disease, impacting mostly in central Harlem, close to me because that's where I live. And this has been going on since July 25th. The second death was announced on Monday, just days after officials confirmed that the first person had passed away from this disease. I want to share with you, the health department has given us the zip code cluster that's impacted by this. So we're talking 10027, 10030, 35, and 10037, again, all in central Harlem. So it's passed. Usually it's not passed from person to person. The way a person would get it is generally through water droplets. What is Legionnaire's disease and how contagious is it? See, we're trying to do it in real time, absolutely. It's generally impacted by the water cooling towers, is what the Department of Health is telling us, is, the big things that you see on the tops of the roofs. And let me see right here. It's a potentially dangerous form, deadly form of pneumonia caused by inhaling water vapor that's been contaminated with Legionella bacteria. The illness is not contagious and can be treated with antibiotics if it's caught early. Now, common source include cooling towers, whirlpool spas, humidifiers, hot tubs, and the plumbing systems of large buildings. So when we talk about that, generally, New York's an old city, so a lot of the plumbing infrastructure that we have is pretty old, so that's how it can be impacted to that degree. But again, this information coming from the Department of Health, and anyone experiencing flu-like symptoms, including fever, cough, muscle aches, shortness of breath, and encouraged, again, if you're in those 5 zip codes that I just read off, that you should seek medical attention and don't sleep on it, or just think that don't mix it up with something else that's going on. If it feels flu-like and you know that you've been a consistent water drinker or having taken it into some degree, then you want to be sure that you are in touch with your health doctor, your medical professional. Health officials say that this is not an issue with any building's plumbing system. Okay, we have that. And that residents are safe to drink tap water as well as bathe, shower, cook, and use their air conditioners at home. So again, that's very, very important information there. If you have a question or a comment, please do so in the format to which you're following us. One of the other things that we also like to pass along is what we are doing today. So just to let you know what I've been doing since I got here, I also host our public affairs show, which we tape on Tuesdays at 10:30. So right before I saw you, and it's called Good Day Street Talk. And so I was taping that, then we come down and we do this in this capacity. After I say goodbye to you, then I'll start working on my story, which involves the greenest block in Brooklyn. So we're at that time of year where the pretty flowers are out. This is the year where everybody tries to show off their hood as far as decorations and as far as, our greenery and things like that go. So and it's always a bragging rights thing. Come on, it's New York. Are you kidding me? But certainly it's not, that type of thing is not immune to any community in the States. But anyway, that's what I'll be doing a little bit after that. Is it hard finding new stories every day?
To report on, I guess.
Okay, that's a good, thank you for that question. In smaller, in markets of a certain size, like your New Yorks, LA, Boston, Philly, those areas, Dallas, Fort Worth, it's a little easier just because of the volume of things that are going on. It can be tougher in smaller markets to do that, and that's where you are reliant upon beat, reporting, if you will. For me, I started out in my hometown of Norfolk, Virginia Beach, so Hampton Roads, in that area, and so you learn the system of calling around, looking for stories, following up the operations as far as getting them a little bit different. One of my first live shots when I first started, believe it or not, years ago, was on the Pungo Strawberry Festival. And Pungo is a section in Virginia Beach. And it's a big deal, the Pungo Strawberry Festival, but trying to be live all morning long and trying to make sure when the show goes on at 6 o'clock in the morning and the event starts at like 9 or 10, and every half hour they're coming to you for a hit, you've got to really make the Pungo Festival in a cloud of darkness, because of that time of morning there wasn't anything to see except for me standing outside of the entrance to it, like that. But I wouldn't have traded those experiences for anything because it's great training. It teaches you how to ad lib and to think on your feet and to try to really convince, the viewers, like, this is why you should really come and check this thing out. So yeah, it can be tough, to do that. I'm gonna step out of the way because to further answer your question, if you look in the background there through the plexiglass, that's our assignment desk, and that's Information Central. All information comes in, goes out, is distributed. There are scanners there, there are monitors, there's a board behind them as well. Jonathan and Joannie and all of the other talented people, my colleagues that sit there, are so on top of everything that's going on. And literally sometimes you just have seconds to react, to get the information to one of our colleagues, one of the crews, to just go and follow up on and do things, like that. That's a really good question. Thank you for asking
There's
that.
a follow-up for that.
Okay.
Saying, is it exhausting? I think they mean reporting.
Is it exhausting? Believe it or not, no, and I'll tell you why. In developing situations, there's an energy that kicks in, an adrenaline rush that I think if you were to swap me out and put in Miss Schmidt, Miss Evers, Mr. Chien, Kendall Green, any of our colleagues, Ms. Crowley, I think they will all tell you, the exact same thing. While it can be a little tough, think of it, look at it as if you're an air traffic controller, because we, at one point, this is called an IFB, and that stands for internal foldback. And if you're wondering, you ever see, the thing in the reporter or the anchor's ear, then this is, can you see it? Wait, this way, right? This is what it is. It goes in, it clips, and it connects us, to the box, if you will, that we can communicate, with the station. Now, mind you, there are times where you will have the producer talking to you in your ear. You may have the assignment desk trying to talk to you in your ear. The director of the show, may be talking to the cameraman, like, okay, frame Twan up, or, a little bit more light on Twan, and these conversations can sometimes happen literally at the same time, so there is some air traffic controlling going on where you just have to pick up. Now, mind you, you're also about ready to go live and talk to, the viewers and share that information. So for me, no, it's not exhausting. I think something else kicks in, at that point. Now, when you get a chance to breathe, like that, then you can recoup. But a lot of times, you'll recall the Columbia protests, the verdict in the Diddy trial, or Harvey Weinstein 2, or heaven forbid, there's a multi-alarm fire, or the subway, anything that's developing like that, generally some sort of rush kicks in, and that generally, just drives. And after a bunch of years, we get used to it, but yeah, it can be very interesting when you've got all of this going on in your head. No, literally. And so if one of the questions may be, well, why are they talking on top of each other? It's because they probably can't hear. I mean, the assignment desk, who has a way to talk to the reporter, isn't in the control room, where the newscast is going on. So if he's trying to say, hey, we've got, pictures coming in, one of the crews, uploaded some pictures, we have video like that. The director is just going to be, okay, look, he needs to get framed up. And the producer's, telling you, all right, Antwan, we're coming to you now, like that. So it can be a lot to navigate, but after a while, you know how to take what you're hearing from this person and that person, or you have the luxury of saying, guys, there's too many people talking right now. And then, okay, Miss Nagel, our producer, you were trying to tell me something, or Randy, our director, again, Jonathan or Joannie, maybe trying to get information off. So that's that one.
It's nice to meet you. Thank you for sharing.
You're quite welcome, but no, I personally don't think it's exhausting, but yeah, that extra wind kicks in, when there's something going on, and a sense of urgency, to be accurate, and to not be reckless. And personally, if it's something that I don't know, then I just won't report it until we can get it confirmed. If that's, a call into here, if that's using, hey, do we know that yet? Like that. Can I say this? And that's that. Sometimes we may get the managers, a news director, our assistant news director, Miss Cook, maybe, calling on the phone or texting, hey, we got pictures, of such and such, so there can be a lot going on, but you learn to juggle and you just hope that it looks smooth, but there are going to be times where it's not always smooth as it could be, but as long as the information is correct, and we try to get it to you as quickly as we can, as responsibly as we can, then that's where the priority is. Like that. What are top stories? Okay. I got a few minutes left to share with you top stories. We are under an air quality advisory because of the wildfires that are burning in Canada and the impact they're having here on us in New York City. So I definitely want to make sure you know that. Also, a second person has died of Legionnaire's disease, officials say, in Central Harlem, and this is the second death since July 25th, since last week, when the story became a story. And then again, up in the Bronx, authorities are investigating the accidental drowning of a 1-year-old toddler, a little girl, who was at a daycare there. So those are the 3 top stories that we're following today. And as we are nearing the end of my time with you, if you have another question, if there's a comment or something that you want to pass along to us, here is your window to do that. And do we have the 7-day? Let's see, do we have it, or put a map up? I wonder if let me see the map, if we can. All right, so that's what we're looking at there. And everything in gray is the air quality impact. So this is where all of the advisories are. You still see green on Long Island, and as Liv Johnson was saying at the top of the hour, the wind that's going to blow the bad air out and bring the good air in is already impacting eastern Long Island. So that's what's going on there. So that's why it's green there. But all the rest of the gray are all of the areas and cities that are impacted, in the tri-state because of the wildfires that are burning in Canada. And again, this is a look from Lower Manhattan out towards the Hudson, where you can see in the distance Lady Liberty there, the Statue of Liberty, certainly in a cloud, if you will, of that smoke that's coming from the wildfires that are there. We see you here at 11:30 every day, and then anytime there is something that's breaking. The last time I think I saw you was when Hulk Hogan had passed away on that day. So anytime there's something breaking, then we run over here outside of our normal window just to make sure that we are getting you information as quickly as we can. We try to acknowledge the impact that streaming on, phones and outside of our traditional windows, you know, the impact that that's having, you know, on people wanting their information that may not be. Okay, I've got 18 seconds to wrap this up, but my producer's telling me that, you know, but so no, we try to make sure that we keep you informed through this way. Once again, from Fox 5 here in New York City, I'm Antwan Lewis. We encourage you to be safe. If you're in the tri-state, again, be aware of what the weather and the situation is outside with the air quality. We'll see you again soon. And as always, thank you for your company.